The head of the UN has issued a new warning about the dangers of climate change, saying the world is walking on thin ice and that is melting fast. Antonio Guterres says humanity is running out of time and all countries must bring forward plans for net zero by a decade. He said there is still hope, though, if technology and clean energy can be exploited to avoid an impending disaster. Now, the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says extreme weather events will get much worse in the years ahead. Events like the devastating flooding in Pakistan last summer, which was one of the most destructive ever in terms of cost. The destruction of crops hit the economy hard. Now, Pakistan has to import more food than it exports. And as our science editor, Emily Morgan, found out, the floodwater is still standing 6 months on.
The colour of their clothes belies the darkness in these women's lives. It is a cruel irony they must wade through these putrid floods to collect yet more water, only this stuff won't make them ill. They are the people of Sindh, the southeastern region of Pakistan, not farmers anymore, but victims of climate change. This area is known as Ground Zero. It is also known as Jacobabad. What was once an area of prosperous farmland is now not feeding its people, but its wildlife. Abdul took me to the water's edge to show me where he used to live. The village is still surrounded by water after the worst ever August rains last year.
Their livelihood died during the flood. Their sheep, their cattle, their goats died, all died.
All their livestock?
Yeah, all their livestock, yes.
As they wait for the waters to recede, this is now home. A dusty, hot camp at the mercy of the elements and the traffic. You sleep here? All your children sleep here? Khadijah's 11th child was born on this verge. She tells me they have nothing, no food, no water. Everything is gone. The floods displaced around 8 million people here. Large parts of the country are still underwater. Scientists found climate change made the most intense rains worse by around 50%. This is what climate change does. It ruins people's livelihoods. It means whole villages are flooded. It means people have to live in tents along the side of the road and horrible diseases kill their children. And it's going to happen again. And it will keep happening until more is done. A temporary medical tent tells you everything you need to know about how these people are living. Mothers queue for hours with their children, made ill by the stagnant waters and diseases that spawn here. Gulshan's brought her 4-year-old son here. He has malaria and a very high fever. She tells me all 7 of her children have been sick since the floods. Hepatitis A, scabies and diarrhoea are all also on the rise. But is it any wonder? With no clean water, they're forced to drink, bathe and wash in what sits around them.
Our animals are drinking this water and we are also drinking this water.
Are people dying because of it?
Yes, 300 people among the children, women and men were died.
No one knows quite how many have died, preventable deaths since the floods. What we do know is the climate is changing and there could be many more.
Because we are having a very intense rain for like 1 or 2 days and then followed by the dry period. But the rainfall is so intense that is the drainage system here is very, very difficult to cope up with that huge amount of water. Climate change is a reality.
Mansoura is living that reality. The wheat and rice fields her family farm are destroyed. She wants to believe life will return to normal at some point, but with the impact of global warming intensifying, what hope is there for those on this land?
Well, those scenes in Pakistan are a really grim foretaste of what is ahead for many. The IPCC report says that the world is now warmer than at any time in the past 125,000 years, and it will likely get warmer still over the next decade. Temperatures are already about 1.1 degrees above pre-industrial levels, and it's on course to breach 1.5 degrees, the internationally agreed limit, in the 2030s. Now, it says more than 3 billion people already live in areas that are highly vulnerable to climate breakdown. And half of the global population now experiences severe water scarcity for at least part of the year. Well, Emily is here. I mean, it all sounds really sobering, really worrying, doesn't it? But there is a glimmer of hope within that report.
Yes, I think so. And I think that's the thrust of this report, actually. Although it does say we're on the cusp of disaster, it also says the next 10 years are absolutely crucial if we are to secure a sustainable future for our children. I mean, how can we look the next generation in the eye, it says, if we let this window of opportunity pass us by? And the warnings are, they're not great. In all likelihood, at this rate, the world will warm more than 1.5 degrees centigrade. But it says we know what to do to limit it. So the onus, it says, is on us as consumers, but also on governments of developed nations to act rapidly now and make changes. So drastically cut fossil fuels, invest in renewable energies, develop low carbon technology, and just be more energy efficient. We have to be more ambitious, it said, because if we're not, countries like Pakistan, vulnerable countries, and there are many of them, will just see more and more devastation. And they are the countries who contribute the least to climate change, but they suffer the most.
Emily, thank you.